What's going on there, everybody? Hope you're all having a fantastic day today. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the other day, as promised, Activision went ahead and put out a blog post kind of discussing what has changed within the brand new anti-cheat update here. And I gotta be honest with you guys, it is just a load of BS to me personally. I think a lot of people expected them to deep dive into the positives of this anti-cheat, but in all reality, they kind of just told us exactly what we already knew. And on top of that, I mean, they shared some interesting topics, but nothing really deep diving into what realistically changed, which is kind of worrying me that this might not actually be a good update. And again, Activision is more so banking on the fact that Verdansk will save Warzone compared to actually fixing up their anti-cheat. But of course, ladies and gentlemen, before we go and dive deep, if you guys are interested in more content just like this, don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell. I post daily here at 8 in the morning Eastern time. And of course, if you guys are interested in AMA live streams, I do stream Monday through Saturday over on Twitch. And this Monday and Tuesday, we are going to change things up a little bit. I don't know which day I'm going to hyper-focus the most on, but one of those days is going to be an OG COD stream, and the other day is going to be an OG Battlefield stream. So if you guys are interested, I'll link that channel down in the description of this video. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, to go ahead and begin, I would say the biggest takeaway from this overall blog post is the fact that they went ahead and shut down, I think, like 20 plus cheat providers. And that was really the whole thing to take away from this blog post. You know, like I said, they tried to convince us that they're going to go ahead and showcase exactly why their anti-cheat has improved what they did to improve it, and why it's going to be a top tier anti-cheat compared to the rest. But in all reality, they just kind of shared with us, a few details behind the scenes, and also that they just shut down a bunch of cheat providers, which at the end of the day, I think a lot of us already understand that, shutting down cheat providers isn't going to do anything. It's a whole lot of nothing, regardless, if you shut down 20, there's going to be 30 more providers that are going to pop up out of nowhere and start producing more cheats for people to be able to, indulge in when it comes to Call of Duty, making all of this work pretty much irrelevant. But I guess we should be thankful that they went out of their way to do all of this, but in all reality, we need a better anti-cheat. You could shut down as many providers as you possibly want, but without a proper working anti-cheat, we're going to continue to have these issues. And again, I guess we're kind of at the spot where they need to showcase to us, this anti-cheat's working instead of just talking about it, because talking about them shutting down all these providers doesn't do anything. We have to actually dive deep on the second when the update finally drops and see if this is the real deal or if it's not. And I understand that they don't want to deep dive into any of the actual, basics of the anti-cheat, because they don't want to give away too much for people to take advantage of these obvious, cheater producers. You don't want to have all the information available to them right out the gate just simply by looking through Twitter. You have to make them work a little bit. But I will say, I am kind of disappointed that they didn't talk about much, any of the real juicy changes that we should be expecting when it comes to the anti-cheat. But other than that, ladies and gentlemen, I would say Charlie Intel and Modern Warzone kind of summarized everything that was pretty much important when it comes to this blog post. Some of it's kind of cool, but the mass majority of it, like I said earlier, is just mostly useless. I mean, first and foremost here, as you can see from Charlie Intel, Activision says many players believe someone is cheating when in reality, the players are not. Over 60% of received cheater reporting in Call of Duty Warzone have been against console players, and Season 3 Killcam has been updated with more info to help alleviate this. Now, this is actually interesting information to hear, that the mass majority of people who are sending out reports are not really going through because they're not real, you know what I'm saying? Which honestly kind of exposes the Call of Duty community. I've been saying this time and time again, although I do know the cheating problem is pretty rough in this game. Regardless, I've always said that the Call of Duty community is the quickest community to jump to someone, being a cheater. And it's the truth. For some reason, the Call of Duty community has the biggest ego of them all. And if anybody, is able to outgun them, outperform them, they're instantly considered a cheater. And here we are with some actual proof and statistics. Although, I can't really confirm because, Activision could say anything and the majority of the time they're lying. But, if they are telling the truth, then this means that a lot of people don't know what they're talking about. And people seriously have to have a reality check and an ego check when it comes to their performance in these Call of Duty experiences. And also hearing that over 60% of the received cheater reports are towards console players is even more funny. I don't want to say the AA is too strong, but it seems that it's to the point where people are heavily convinced that people have aimbot, because you don't see this in any other game. You don't see this in Battlefield. You don't see it in any other shooter I could possibly think of where the mass majority of the reports are towards the console community. But it is what it is. I just thought that was a pretty funny statistic. But in order to go ahead and counter all of this, they're actually adding in a feature into kill cams, which I'll flash up right here for you guys, that will allow individuals to see how they died. If they were on a UAV, if it's because they shot their unsuppressed weapon, if it's because of field upgrade, perks, so on and so forth. It will list it all down there to make it a little bit easier for people to understand if they, died from a UAV or, an advanced UAV, or if they just simply die because someone was wall hacking. And it's going to help differentiate if someone's, like pre-aiming a corner that you're about to fly around and they pre-fire you, you'll be able to know exactly why they did so. Which in all reality, I gotta be real with you guys, I think this is kind of good. As much crap as I've been talking about Activision, this is a pretty good change here. And hopefully this will help people better differentiate, who's actually cheating and who's not cheating. Because I do believe personally that a lot of people can't really pick out what a cheater looks like. So to give us additional tools will definitely be helpful for the everyday average person who might, come across a cheater, or maybe they won't come across a cheater, but at the end of the day, they'll have additional information to help them, determine what's actually happening. Second up here is a post by Modern Warzone saying, spam reporting in COD. Call of Duty once again states that spam reporting does absolutely nothing and cannot put you in any sort of shadow ban or limited matchmaking system. They also say spam reporting reduces the trust they have in future reports from that account. I don't know about you guys, but again, this is where I'm starting to lose a lot of faith that they are going to be doing anything regarding the anti-cheat in this game, Like, every single time I think they're going to do something positive, they release statements like this, which completely backfire because I've seen time and time and time again people getting mass reported and getting shadow banned. Now, this could mean something completely different. I think they're talking specifically about one individual spam reporting thousands of times to one person, but nobody's talking about that. Nobody cares about that. The biggest issue is when you have teams of 6+ individuals, maybe even more, telling their friends to do the same thing, going and reporting your account all at once, making it so it's not just one account reporting you, but tons of accounts coming in and reporting you, making you a higher, target on Activision's list to go ahead and check out. That is the problem here. And they keep dancing around this question. They keep saying, oh, no, that's not a thing because we don't allow spam reporting. But they're gladly ignoring the fact that we're not talking about one person. We're talking about multiple people, and they refuse to address this. I've seen it with my own eyes. I've seen people get clapped out of the lobby and put into shadow ban lobbies based off of people spam reporting. This is not fake. This is not a lie. This is all truth. And I don't know how they can continuously keep coming out here and stating that it's not true when I literally see it all the freaking time. Again, it's just another reason why it's so hard to believe that this anti-cheat will be anything good, because every single time you get yourself a little bit, excited, they say stupid stuff like this, which completely just makes their word irrelevant and loses all trust factor. But, it is what it is. Let's move on to the next one here by Modern Warzone. Activision and Call of Duty have admitted for the first time that Ricochet anti-cheat has had cases of false positive anti-cheat enforcement. If over the course of these examinations we discover an account action was not warranted, it will be rolled back. Again, another reason why why would we believe that this anti-cheat has been improved? Why would we believe anything Activision says when they have openly lied, that Ricochet anti-cheat never has any false bans? Nothing, nada. They've stated time and time and time again that if you get banned, it's for a reason. You don't just get banned for no reason. Their anti-cheat is perfection. They've stated this so many different times, and then now out of the blue, they're finally admitting that yes, their anti-cheat isn't perfection, and people have been falsely banned. Once again, discrediting everything they have ever said about this anti-cheat and about the systems in place. And this bounces back to the previous topic. Why would I personally ever believe that you can't spam report people in Call of Duty if they openly lied about, the report system not falsely banning individuals? Tell me, why would I believe anything they say? They have defended that statement 3-4+ times, knowing that people are getting banned. And I guess they can't hide it anymore, so they're finally coming out and admitting it. And then, like I said, when it comes to the spam reporting, they're dancing around the real topic. They're not saying, oh, it's not, you can't have multiple people report one person, have them shadow banned, even though they're not doing anything. It's just one person can't spam report a bunch of times. Obviously, no crap. We're talking about teams worth of people, 10+ people, different accounts coming at you trying to get you banned, but they won't address it. They keep dancing around the top. You see what I'm saying here, guys? Do you see what I'm saying? They're full of shit. I'm sorry. Again, I'm sorry to be cursing so much recently on the channel, but my God, Activision has really been putting us through the ringer, ladies and gentlemen. And they're so full of crap that it makes it impossible for me or anybody else to have any faith that they really do mean what they say in regards to anti-cheat. Further confirming to me personally that the anti-cheat isn't going to be upgraded at all. And it's probably just a load of crap. They're just probably spewing a bunch of BS into our heads. But lastly here, this is probably, what's going to summarize up the whole blog post, because again, like I said, the blog post was so pointless, guys. It really didn't cover anything. They hyped it up as some massive thing that we're going to be able to see all the details to what the anti-cheat's going to be and how it got upgraded. And then we got the most bare minimum, statements ever. But the last one here from Modern Warzone saying, breaking, Call of Duty has officially communicated about shadow ban lobbies for the first time. Accounts and limited matchmaking make up less than 0.15% of the entire player population in Black Ops 6 and Warzone. They also sped up the account review process in Season 2. Once again, I find that hard to believe. The amount of times I see people on the internet constantly saying they have gotten shadow banned, it's wild. I personally don't believe it's 0.15%. And again, with all the other lies that Activision has spewed out to us, like I said, why would I believe it? I think that's the point that I'm at right now, and I think that's a point where a lot of people are at right now. They can say whatever they want to say. They can put any words out there. They can put any blog post together. They could try to convince us in any way, shape, or form that they have done amazing things. But at the end of the day, they have openly lied to us so many different times, have been caught openly lying to us, and even have changed statements like you see in this blog post here about the shadow bans and the regular bans so many different times that why would we believe any of the statistics that they actually have to showcase to us? I don't know, ladies and gentlemen. At the end of the day, it was kind of a pointless blog post. We'll see how it is. At this point, it's more about less talk, more action. They can try to fill us up with filler for as long as they want. And they had some, interesting things like adding in the new features to the kill cam. So I wanted to share all this stuff with you guys. But at the end of the day, we're at the point where they have to prove to us that the cheating problem will be resolved here. They can talk the talk, but as long as it's not fixed, then I don't know. And it's not something that we're going to be able to see right out the gate, in my personal opinion at least. This is going to be something that we have to wait and test for the span of months, because we don't know when new, cheat providers are going to come into the mix. They might have shut down 20 plus, but like I said, when 20 shut down, 30 come back in. It's just a matter of time. So we have to see when people actually start picking back up the cheat game, how this anti-cheat can hold up. Right? Like I said in a previous video, I truly do believe they're trying to just, get as much of an advantage right out the gate with going ahead and, giving these lawsuits to all these cheat providers to, kind of convince people that they resolved the issue, when in reality, they just put a bandage over the actual issue. That's what I believe. But they could prove me wrong. And if they do prove me wrong, you guys know I say it on the channel all the time, I will gladly own up to it. And I'll gladly eat my words. But so far, every step of the way going into Season 3 has just been simply a disappointment. And it's sad to see Black Ops 6 take this, trail down. And obviously, all the Call of Duty dev teams have to take this trail down, because Activision, when it comes to all of these different statements regarding skill-based matchmaking and anti-cheat, 9 times out of 10 is full of crap. But ladies and gentlemen, as always, if you enjoyed today's video, leave a like. If you hate it, leave a dislike. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell. I post daily here at 8 in the morning Eastern Time. And of course, if you guys are interested in any of my live streams, I do stream Monday through Saturday over on Twitch, starting between 12 to 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Of course, if you guys are interested, got to link that channel down in the description of this video. But as always, thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you all on the next one. Peace out.